Long ago, there was a man who ruled the greatest empire on earth. He could command armies with a word, yet he spent his nights alone writing quietly to himself. His name was Marcus Aurelius. While others chased glory, he chased clarity. While others built wealth, he built wisdom. 2,000 years later, his words still whisper through time. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Imagine if Marcus lived today surrounded by hustle culture, crypto charts, and endless self-help gurus. He wouldn't tell you how to get rich fast. He'd ask something far more dangerous. Are you in control of your money, or is your money controlling you? The Stoic emperor understood a secret that modern minds forget. True passive income isn't about money working for you. It's about peace working within you. Before you learn to earn while you sleep, you must learn to rest without fear. And that is where the story begins. Part 1. The Stoic Foundation. There was no audience, no applause, no crowd waiting outside the palace. Only Marcus Aurelius, alone with a pen and his thoughts. He ruled the most powerful empire on earth, yet he wrote only to himself. He wasn't writing for glory, he was writing for clarity. And through that silence, he found the kind of wealth that never fades. He once wrote, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." To Marcus, money wasn't power, mastery was. The power to rule himself before ruling others. He understood that true wealth has little to do with numbers in a bank account and everything to do with freedom from need. You can have millions and still be poor if your desires own you. And you can have little yet live abundantly if your mind is free. Today, when people talk about passive income, they think of stocks, digital assets, or money working while they sleep. But Marcus would begin with a different question. Are you the master of your desires or their slave? No amount of income can buy peace for a restless soul. A Harvard study once found that after about $75,000 a year, more money doesn't make people any happier. Beyond that point, satisfaction plateaus. 2,000 years before that study, Marcus and the Stoics already knew when you chase wealth without mastering desire, you only multiply your hunger. Seneca said it clearly, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." Marcus lived this truth. He practiced voluntary discomfort, sleeping on a hard bed, eating plain food, walking barefoot. Not as punishment, but as proof that comfort is a choice, not a dependency. He wanted to show himself that luxury is never freedom. It is another form of attachment. This is the Stoic foundation, not rejecting wealth, but redefining it. To use money as a servant, not to become its slave. He would tell us today, you've built machines to make money while you sleep, yet you lie awake in anxiety. You automate your investments, but not your emotions. You chase freedom, but remain trapped by comparison. Marcus would remind us the first pillar of passive income is mental minimalism, to reduce dependency, not just increase cash flow. He wrote, "If you seek tranquility, do less, or rather do what's essential." In modern terms, that means focusing on clarity, not clutter. Financial independence isn't about juggling 10 side hustles. It's about building systems that serve your values and cutting away the noise that doesn't. Here's a practice inspired by Marcus himself, the Stoic ledger exercise. Tonight, take a piece of paper. Write down what you truly need to live a good life, not what you want, not what you desire, but the essentials that sustain your peace. Next to each, write how much time or money they actually require. You will see it takes far less to live fully than the world tells you. This simple act rewires the mind. It trains you to separate necessity from illusion, value from vanity. It's the same discipline Marcus used when the empire was at his feet to remind himself that power, comfort, and fame were never his masters. Epictetus said wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Marcus didn't just quote it, he lived it. He understood that happiness and income are not bound together. You can be rich in possessions and poor in peace, or modest in means, yet wealthy in serenity. Modern culture glorifies the hustle, the late nights, the endless grind, the constant growth. But Marcus would call it what it truly is, a new form of slavery. The chains are invisible, made of dopamine likes and comparison. The Stoic way teaches something radically different, that real passive income begins when your peace compounds faster than your profits, when your mood no longer swings with the markets, when your sense of worth doesn't depend on what others earn or own. Ask yourself honestly, if you lost your job tomorrow, would your mind collapse before your finances do? That's the question Marcus would want you to face. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That line is the blueprint for financial freedom. Because before you master your money, you must master your mind, control the controllable, detach from the noise, and remember that wealth is not measured by growth charts or interest rates, but by how calm you remain when the world shakes. So before you design your portfolio, design your perspective. Before you build assets, build awareness. Before you earn while you sleep, learn to rest without fear. Because the man who conquers desire has already conquered the market. Marcus Aurelius lived and died with almost nothing material left behind, but his wisdom outlived empires. And the foundation he built, simplicity, self-control, serenity, remains stronger than marble or gold. If he could speak to us today, to every person chasing freedom, he might say this: don't wish for an easier life. Wish for a stronger mind. That's where true wealth begins, not in what you own, but in what no one can take from you. And as we step forward into the chaos of the modern world, we carry that ancient truth with us. Because the Stoic foundation doesn't end in Rome, it begins again here in every choice we make, between desire and discipline, between fear and freedom. And that leads us to the next chapter, where ancient wisdom meets the noise of our times. Part 2, the modern parallel. If Marcus Aurelius were alive today, he wouldn't live in a palace. He'd live in a small apartment, maybe with a stack of notebooks beside his desk and a cup of black coffee cooling next to a flickering laptop screen. He wouldn't scroll social media to chase validation. He'd scroll his thoughts, examining which desires control him and which ones he truly needs. The empire has changed, but the struggle hasn't. In ancient Rome, the noise came from crowds and politics. Today it comes from screens and algorithms. Back then, people worshipped gods and generals. Now they worship influencers and billionaires. If Marcus walked among us, he'd watch the chaos of hustle culture, the 5 a.m. routines, the endless productivity videos, the obsession with becoming financially free. And he would simply ask free from what modern man spends his life trying to escape the very systems he built. He builds wealth to escape work, yet he works himself to exhaustion to build that wealth. He builds technology to save time, yet spends the saved time scrolling. He chases financial freedom, but ends up emotionally in prison. Marcus would not mock us. He would observe us with compassion, and then he would say, "You have mistaken movement for progress." Stoicism teaches that the problem is rarely the world itself, it's the way we interpret it. We think stress is caused by work, but it's caused by wanting work to be easier. We think frustration comes from others, but it comes from expecting them to be different. And in wealth, we think freedom comes from income, but it actually comes from indifference to income. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." If we apply that to money, the message is clear. Your financial life is not shaped by the market, it's shaped by your mindset. Let's look at the numbers for a moment. According to the World Bank, over 70% of lottery winners end up broke within 5 years. Meanwhile, countless immigrants, minimalists, and school teachers who live simply quietly build steady wealth and contentment. Why? Because Stoic wealth is not about what you gain, but what you can manage without losing your soul. If Marcus saw today's economy, he'd see people chasing every opportunity: crypto, real estate, AI startups, YouTube channels, online courses, side hustles, believing that the next one will finally set them free. But he would see something deeper: a society addicted to motion without meaning. He would say, "You think you are building systems, but the systems are building you." Marcus would remind us that discipline is the bridge between intention and independence. Passive income in its truest form is not laziness, it's alignment. It's building something today that serves your future self tomorrow. He would look at the modern investor and smile gently, then write another note in his journal: stop chasing comfort. Build character. Because even in modern finance, Stoicism applies perfectly. The Stoic investor doesn't panic when markets fall because he never built his peace on numbers. He built it on patience. He knows that markets crash, trends fade, and opportunities change, but principles don't. Here's a truth that modern economics and ancient philosophy both agree on: compounding works best when uninterrupted. In money, that means don't panic and sell too soon. In life, that means don't abandon your values in pursuit of shortcuts. Marcus might say, hold your principles like long-term investments. There's an old Stoic exercise called the view from above. Imagine yourself rising above your life, Your city, your country looking down from the stars. From that height, your problems shrink. Your ego, your bank account, your worries about success, they all dissolve into the vastness of time. That's not philosophy, that's perspective training. Today we call it detachment. In psychology, it's called cognitive distancing. In Stoicism, it's called wisdom. When you step back from the noise, you stop reacting and start deciding. And that's where true control begins. Control is the currency of the Stoic investor. He invests in things no crash can destroy: character, clarity, consistency. He builds habits like portfolios, one for focus, one for gratitude, one for restraint. Because no matter how modern the world becomes, those assets never depreciate. Let's take a real-world example. Warren Buffett, one of the most successful investors in history, once said, "The stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient." Marcus would have agreed completely. Patience is a Stoic virtue, and in both philosophy and finance, it compounds faster than any currency. Studies by the University of Chicago show that long-term investors who stayed calm during market crashes like in 2008 and 2020 had returns nearly 60% higher over a decade than those who panicked and sold early. Stoicism in modern terms is simply emotional risk management. It's the art of not letting volatility own you. And yet it's not just about markets or money. It's about the way you live. Because Stoicism teaches that the greatest wealth is time well spent. Time free from chaos, comparison, and the constant pressure to prove yourself. Marcus wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." In our world, that might translate to stop living like life is a rehearsal. Start acting like this moment is the only investment that truly pays dividends. So how do we practice this in modern life? First, simplify, cancel the noise. Unsubscribe from unnecessary inputs, from content, from opinions, from people who drain your focus. Stoic minimalism isn't about owning less, it's about needing less. Second, automate the right things. Automate your savings, your investing, your routines, but never your awareness. Technology can manage your money, but only mindfulness can manage your mind. Third, learn to pause. When everyone else rushes to buy or sell you, step back. When everyone else reacts, you reflect. Because calm is a competitive advantage. In business, in markets, in life. Modern Stoicism is not retreating from the world, it's moving through it with focus. It's knowing when to act and when to let go. It's replacing impulsive motion with intentional movement. Marcus once wrote, "To be calm is the highest achievement of the self." That line should be printed above every trading screen, every office desk, every phone lock screen. Because calmness in chaos is the new currency of success. You don't need to become a monk to live like Marcus. You just need to remember that wealth isn't about escape, it's about endurance. It's not about quitting the game, it's about mastering how you play it. A Stoic in the modern world doesn't fear loss. He expects it. He plans for it. And when it comes, he remains unmoved, not because he's emotionless, but because he's prepared. He knows that fortune is borrowed, not owned. As Marcus wrote, "Receive without pride, let go without attachment." That's the Stoic's secret: gratitude without greed, discipline without despair. He invests in character before crypto in presence, before profit in virtue, before victory. So next time the market shakes or your plans collapse or your dreams seem delayed, pause. Remember Marcus sitting alone with his journal, calm in a collapsing empire. He didn't seek control over the world. He sought control over himself. And in doing so, he achieved the only freedom that lasts. Modern Stoicism isn't ancient, it's eternal. It's the blueprint for mental wealth in an economy that sells distraction. It's the reminder that the richest person is the one who can stay peaceful while everyone else panics. As we move forward, remember this: passive income without inner peace is just another kind of debt. Because money might compound your options, but wisdom compounds your outcomes. Marcus Aurelius taught that before you chase freedom, define what freedom means. And for him, freedom was simple: to want nothing that could be taken away. That lesson still stands today. As the noise grows louder and the chase grows faster, remember the emperor who ruled the world and yet ruled himself first. And so we continue, guided by his words and tested by our times, from ancient Rome to the restless modern world. The journey doesn't end here. In fact, it's just beginning. Because the next step is not philosophy, it's practice. It's the translation of Stoic wisdom into action, into principles that anyone can live by today. And that's where we go next. Part 3. The Stoic Principles for Modern Passive Income. In every age, freedom begins the same way, not with wealth, but with order. Marcus Aurelius knew this well. Discipline, not destiny, builds peace. Seneca called it the architecture of the soul. Epictetus called it the mastery of self. And from their words, three timeless ideas emerge: clarity, process, and control, the invisible structure behind every kind of freedom, even financial. Most people don't fail because of a lack of opportunity. They fail because of an excess of noise. We live in an era where everyone tells you what to buy, where to invest, who to follow, what to chase. The markets shout louder than reason. The algorithms never rest. You can trade crypto in your sleep, scroll stocks between meetings, and compare your life to a stranger's highlight reel before breakfast. And yet the average person feels poorer in peace than ever before. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you seek tranquility, do less. Or rather, do what's essential." That sentence could change your entire relationship with money. Because clarity isn't about doing nothing, it's about knowing what matters. Ask yourself, how much is enough to live without fear, enough to serve your purpose? A Gallup survey revealed that only 29% of people can clearly define what financial freedom actually means to them. The rest are running a race with no finish line. Marcus would have called that a life spent chasing shadows. Before you buy your next course, invest in the next idea, or follow the next guru. Pause and ask three questions. Is this necessary? Does this align with my values? And what will it cost me? Not just in money, but in peace. Because wealth built at the expense of serenity isn't wealth. It's another kind of prison. Seneca warned, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Clarity is how you stop wasting not your money, but your mind. The first stage of passive income is not multiplying your income streams. It's minimizing your distractions. It's silence, not strategy, that gives birth to insight. And once you've found clarity, the next step begins: process over outcome. Modern culture is obsessed with results. We glorify profits, awards, followers, growth charts, all the external symbols of success. But Stoicism teaches something radical: outcomes are never fully in your control. Only effort is. Marcus never wrote meditations for the world to read. He wrote it for himself, a private ritual of discipline. He measured success not by applause, but by consistency. If he lived today, he wouldn't refresh analytics. He'd measure how often he acted with integrity when no one was watching. The greatest investors do the same. Warren Buffett, John Bogle, Charlie Munger. They don't chase excitement. They trust process. They automate, diversify, and wait. They understand that compounding is not a financial trick. It's a moral one. It rewards patience and punishes greed. Epictetus said, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. That's the Stoic way. Decide who you wish to become, and let your actions define your worth. Data supports this ancient truth. A Fidelity study found that over 80% of people who automate their savings achieve their goals, while less than 30% of those who trade frequently do. The reason is simple: impatience destroys what time builds. So don't chase wealth, design it. Replace goals with rituals. Instead of saying, I want to make $100,000 this year, say I will save 20% of everything I earn, invest regularly, and review my habits each week. That shift from outcome to process changes everything. Marcus wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He believed that every obstacle carries instruction. Each failure contains direction. When you embrace process over outcome, you stop fearing resistance and start using it. You stop waiting for the perfect moment and start mastering the present one. Passive income, in truth, is a byproduct of patience, the same patience that built Rome and the same patience that sustains peace of mind. Because wealth earned through luck fades with the market, but wealth earned through discipline endures like philosophy. Yet even with clarity and process, one question remains: what happens when chaos returns? What do you do when the markets fall, the plans fail, the system shakes? That is where the third principle lives: control the inner market. Epictetus said, no man is free who is not master of himself. Marcus added, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Every day, people lose fortunes, not in reality, but in imagination. They panic before the loss arrives. They suffer twice, once in fear, once in fact. Seneca called it the misery of anticipation. Modern research proves what Stoics knew. A 2022 study at MIT found that traders who practiced mindfulness reduced emotional losses by 23% on average. In markets or in life, the calmest mind wins. That's Stoicism in numbers: less reactivity, more return. The Stoic investor doesn't react to the storm. He adjusts his sails. When fear rises, he breathes. When greed whispers, he waits. He knows that mastery of emotion outperforms mastery of timing. Control in this sense isn't about domination. It's restraint. It's saying no when the world shouts yes. It's saving when others spend waiting, when others rush, staying grounded when others spin. Marcus would call it temperance, strength, and stillness. He would remind us that the universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. You cannot stop the tides, but you can learn to surf them with grace. Here's something simple you can try. Each time you face a financial decision, buying, selling, investing, pause for 60 seconds. In that minute, ask yourself, if this fails, will I still respect how I acted? If the answer is yes, move forward. If it's no, step back. That single question separates impulse from intention. Because the truth is, this most people don't lose because of ignorance. They lose because of ego. They confuse urgency with importance, volatility with opportunity, motion with progress. The Stoic does the opposite. He moves with purpose, not panic. Seneca wrote, "A man who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than necessary." And that's the story of the modern economy, a world suffering from imagined losses. When you learn to control the inner market, the outer one stops controlling you. Detach from panic. Anchor yourself in principle. Remember that peace of mind is the ultimate dividend, and it pays every day you stay calm. When you combine these ideas, clarity over chaos, process over outcome, control over impulse, you form something rare in today's world, a code of calm prosperity. You stop chasing the next thing and start cultivating the right things. You shift from reacting to designing, from consuming to creating, from fearing to understanding. Anyone, regardless of income, can begin this transformation. Because freedom doesn't start with more. It starts with less. Less noise, less confusion, less desire. And in that quiet space, wealth begins to breathe. Imagine applying these lessons beyond money, choosing clarity in your relationships, following process in your personal growth, maintaining control in your emotions. Suddenly, your entire life compounds like interest, but in wisdom. Marcus Aurelius didn't own stocks, property, or portfolios, but he built something greater: inner equity, character that could not be taxed, stolen, or devalued. He didn't chase fortune, he cultivated virtue. He wrote not to teach the world, but to remind himself of the kind of man he wanted to be. That's the true meaning of wealth, because when the market crashes, character remains. When opportunity fades, patience persists. When possessions vanish, principles endure. The Stoic path to passive income is paradoxical. You earn the most when you need the least. You gain control by letting go of outcomes. You achieve freedom not by accumulating, but by understanding. So ask yourself now, do you own your desires or do they own you? Do you live by clarity or by chaos? Do you measure success by your numbers or by your peace? The answers to those questions define not only your financial destiny, but the quality of your life itself. Marcus Aurelius lived his truth quietly. He led the world not through ambition, but through awareness. And centuries later, his legacy proves something we keep forgetting: that inner mastery is the highest form of income. And as his words echo into our modern lives, they remind us that the richest person is the one who earns the most, but the one who remains calm when everything else falls apart. Because the ultimate return is not what you earn, but who you become while earning it. And that reflection leads us to the final chapter, where Stoic wealth becomes timeless wisdom and philosophy turns into legacy. Part 4. The Legacy Lesson. He ruled the world yet left with empty hands. Marcus Aurelius died not in luxury, but in clarity. He owned nothing that time could steal, and that is why his name still breathes through centuries. Empires fell, Currencies vanished. Monuments crumbled. But his words remained because he invested in what no market could crash: wisdom. In the end, every pursuit of wealth leads to the same horizon. Accounts close. Titles fade. The numbers we chase dissolve into memory. But what endures is how we lived while we were earning, what we learned while we were striving, and who we became through the struggle. Marcus once wrote, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." That line is not about fear, it's about focus. It means that every decision, every investment, every conversation is a transaction with time. Spend it wisely. If he could stand in today's world of digital fortunes and endless consumption, Marcus would not ask how much we've gained. He would ask what remains when everything is gone. He would remind us that a life's balance sheet is not measured in dollars, but in days well used. Seneca wrote, "Life is long if you know how to use it." And perhaps that is the real secret to passive income, turning fleeting hours into lasting meaning. Look around. Technology has given us power unimaginable to emperor's machines that multiply labor, algorithms that predict profit, networks that reach the world. And yet people feel more restless than ever. We scroll through abundance and feel scarcity. We chase connection but forget presence. The Stoic would say we have mistaken movement for progress and wealth for worth. The legacy Marcus leaves is not a formula for finance. It's a framework for living. He teaches that freedom begins in mastery of mind, that every empire falls except the one built within, and that no matter the century, happiness follows virtue like a shadow follows light. In our time, this lesson matters more than ever, because the modern empire is not Rome, it's the mind under pressure. It's the inbox overflowing the feed, refreshing the deadlines, multiplying. We fight invisible wars every day: distraction versus focus, excess versus enough. Marcus' diary was his armor. Your awareness can be yours. He would tell you, make philosophy your daily habit. Write before the world wakes. Reflect before reacting. Ask yourself, am I being ruled by my circumstances or by my choices? When you pause long enough to answer honestly, clarity returns. And with clarity comes calm, the first dividend of wisdom. He would remind you that influence fades quickly, but integrity compounds forever. A single act of honesty can echo longer than a lifetime of achievement. A day lived deliberately can outweigh a year lived automatically. And a mind trained to accept change is richer than one that fears it. Marcus's own life proved this. He faced plague, betrayal, and loss, yet never surrendered his composure. He wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Those thoughts became his fortune. That calm became his kingdom. In the marketplace of life, everyone trades something: time for money, peace for progress, authenticity for applause. The Stoic refuses the unfair trade. He earns without obsession. He gives without expectation. He works not for escape, but for expression. And when his work is done, he rests without guilt because he knows he has lived according to nature, his own. The modern investor seeks compound interest. The Stoic seeks compound virtue. Each day's patience adds to the next. Each decision built on principle multiplies its return. Over time, this invisible account grows not in wealth, but in wisdom. That is the true inheritance Marcus left the world, a reminder that the interest of a peaceful mind is paid every sunrise. So as you listen now, take one truth from his legacy. You cannot control how long you will live, but you can control how deeply. You cannot choose every outcome, but you can choose every action. You cannot buy tranquility, but you can practice it. And in that practice lies the only freedom that lasts. Maybe you'll begin tonight. Close the screen. Open a notebook. Write down one sentence you want to live by tomorrow. Not a goal, not a number, a principle. Something that can guide you when profits fall and noise returns. That single sentence, repeated daily, will outlast any paycheck. Because wealth is not what fills your bank. It's what empties your fears. Success is not what others see. It's what you can quietly accept when you look within. And legacy is not what you leave behind, it's what you carry forward while you're here. Marcus Aurelius never asked to be remembered. He asked only to remember himself, to stay awake in a world asleep in ambition. 2,000 years later, his quiet courage still speaks: live by reason, not reaction. Build virtue, not vanity. Earn peace, not praise. That is the guide. He leaves us a map from chaos to calm, from fortune to freedom. And if you follow it, you'll find that the richest life is not the one that never struggles, but the one that never stops learning. So take these lessons not as history, but as invitation. Begin your own meditations. Apply philosophy to your work, your wealth, your relationships. Share the wisdom forward and let it multiply like interest in the hearts of others. Because every time you act with discipline instead of desire, every time you choose patience over panic, every time you value purpose over possessions, you keep Marcus's legacy alive. And as this journey closes, remember, the empire he ruled is dust, but the empire he built inside himself still stands calm, unshaken, eternal. That is the kind of wealth no generation can outspend. Now it is yours to build. Your decisions are your monuments. Your awareness is your kingdom. Your calm is your crown. The lesson is finished, but the practice begins. And the future, like fortune itself, belongs to the minds that master themselves. If these words of Marcus Aurelius reached you, take a moment before the noise returns. Wisdom only grows when it is shared. So pass this message to someone still chasing peace through possession. Let them remember that true freedom is not earned by wealth, but by mastery of the mind. Subscribe to Making Life Better not for motivation, but for reflection. Each story, each lesson, each moment here is a small step toward a calmer, stronger you. And together we can build a kind of wealth untouched by inflation or time, the wealth of awareness, discipline, and inner balance. Because when knowledge is lived, not just learned, it compounds beyond generations. Stay grounded, stay present, and let wisdom, not want, be the fortune you pursue.